Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our training. All right, this is where we're getting some more fun stuff. This is stuff that is very realistic, what you guys could potentially see with what you guys do down the fence. Okay, shallow water stuff. A lot of you guys have heard this before, but to me, you guys do the most dangerous type of diving here. You know, my guys, we go out here and weekly, we're diving to 80, 100 feet, moving 500-pound objects along the bottom and stuff like that. That, to me, is not as dangerous as diving in shallow waters, doing what you guys do. You guys are down there in a big fish net, swimming around, doing things, right? So the entanglement hazard is crazy. You guys have done it so much, you've done it so safely. I mean, it's, you know, make sure we don't get complacent. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this room have been stuck, you know, snagged, and those kind of things. So remaining calm is the #1 thing, right? And having that dive supervisor being topside, and that standby dive tender, and just people being aware of what's going on down there. You guys are blasting pens when you guys are down here, with that thing just, you know, flying off the handle down there. If that thing gets away from you, how it can, you know, smack somebody in the head. That's the reason why we have comms. Okay? So you can say, shut that pump off while that thing's flying around. The other thing here, also in the shallower depths, of course, you know, you're down there working, not maybe paying attention, business is good, you can easily float to the surface. Your buoyancy. Maintaining that neutral buoyancy is so imperative at that, you know, 15, 20-foot range. I mean, you can easily, once you start going, next thing you know, you're turtle backing on the surface. So it's, you know, overinflation syndromes can be very, very common. If you're not setting yourself coming up in the water column because you're busy focusing on whatever you're doing. So, these are big. Overinflation syndromes leads to AGE, air gas embolism, which is the most dangerous type of diving malady you can experience. Okay? The other thing, we're down there doing breath holds, checking, you know, the marks on the animals. Okay? That's the other thing. Anytime we're down here diving to depth and we're holding our breath, this malady can happen. And it's getting more and more common in this world because, you know, free sport diving is getting very, very popular, especially with people going out there and wanting to spearfish without having the air bubbles, you know, anything else. So it's a sport that's becoming more and more popular every day. So when that happens and people are unfamiliar with what the shallow water blackout syndrome is, obviously the casualty rate is also going to go up in those numbers as well. So those are the 2 things you guys do that, you know, every day when I wake up, that's what I think about right here. Not taking these guys out with 100 feet and just picking up a mine off the ground. What's that? Alright, so I start switching as this happened. Don't laugh. Okay, so what is POIS? Pulmonary overinflation syndromes. Okay, it's caused by expansive gas trapped in the lungs because the person is not exhaling. And what happens is your little alveolar sacs burst, and then you don't get the gas transfusion, you know, between the oxygen and the CO2, and that kind of stuff happening in the lungs. So, 4 kinds. 4 kinds you got to be concerned with. AGE being the #1. Okay, that causes central nervous system issues. Diabetes emphysema, we'll talk about these. Subcutaneous emphysema, these 2 aren't so bad. And then a real bad one, they're called pneumothorax, where you basically have a puncture in your lung. Okay? AGE. So, you guys can read that? Basically what happens is air bubbles getting into your arterial system, okay? Also making your way in the lungs and go up to your brain. So what happens is these bubbles travel up into your brain area, just like that area, and you start creates blockage, little bubbles attach to more little bubbles, and those bubbles get bigger and collect more little bubbles, and the big bubble gets really big. Now you secure your blood flow to either your brain area or down your spinal cord. So basically your central nervous system is affected. And that in turn affects everything else in how we live, right? That's really bad stuff. Don't get this confused with decompression sickness. Those are bubbles in your venous system. And those sort of, I'm not going to get into that, but that's sort of where things lie up in your elbows and joints and stuff like that. The AG is really big. It's caused by this overexpansion in your lungs, in your circulatory system that way, on the outside. So you guys can sort of read through that and sort of visualize how what's happening. So your diver comes up to you, and it's classic. Right here, the diver comes up, you're the dive supervisor, or if you're the diver and you experience this, okay, it's pretty much an increasing discomfort behind your breastbone. Obviously, it's where your lungs are at, so you're going to feel something right in here. Now, a lot of times when we overexert ourselves, or lifting things, or stretching, sometimes you get cramps, in your ribs and those little areas. Okay, you might get that a lot. So as a dive supervisor or somebody questioning somebody who's complaining of something, these are questions you need to ask them. And we're going to go into dive supervisor stuff or doing a neurological assessment. But the classic symptom is anything right in here of pain. And they'll pretty much sense them as they came up through the water column. Okay? Symptoms, any neurological sign. Unconsciousness is the most obvious. Weakness, paralysis, numbness. Okay. If it's pain, pain is not really classified as an AGE. It's more neurological. It's going to be pain and nerves, it's neurological, but the pain is going to manifest itself usually in the joints. Okay. I actually had, actually mine was caused by DCS. I had a DCS in the nervous system which caused me to get paralyzed. The rule of thumb with AGE, this is for everybody here. Those that have been through the dive suit class and haven't gotten through my dive medicine course. If you're a diver, you surface and you have some kind of neurological symptom. Okay? What's neurological? I'm not going to get into that, but it could be ringing ears, blurred vision, it could be headaches, could be pretty much anything that's going on up here in your cerebral area. Okay? Numbness, tingling, not being associated with cold. We all get tingling when we get cold, but usually it manifests itself within 10 minutes of surfacing. So you didn't have it on the bottom. You didn't have it when you went in. You didn't necessarily have it when you surfaced. You could have, but it's usually within a 10-minute window. That's the magic number. Okay. Now everybody's different. If someone sets in at 11 or 12 minutes, does that mean it's not AGE? No, but it usually will show itself within 10 minutes. Okay. You have to assume that the dives that we do down here that we may have an AGE issue. We need to take it serious. We need to take it quick. I need to get a phone call like immediately. Okay? If somebody's thinking, oh, my fingers are numb, my toes are numb, you have to ask that question, well, are you cold? How long were you in the water for? But if it's like, yeah, I was in the water 10 minutes and I can't feel my feet and my hands, then you might want to make a phone call. We're going to start taking action. Okay? So 10 minutes is that magic number. If it's 10 to 15 and you're questionable, then call me. Okay, I got a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. If it's 30 minutes or an hour later, then not so much. But something may be going on, so we have to make the phone calls. Okay. So when we do have an AGE hit, and I come down, we say, you know what? And I'm not the doctor, so I'm not going to be like, now you're okay, let's go home. No, we're gonna take a ride. Okay. If it's something like the neurological, recompression is got to happen because the bubbles aren't going to go away when you get in the chamber, so you can compress those bubbles to get the blood flow going again. Does that make sense? So you need to be compressed. You got to crush that bubble, and we're taking a quick ride to UCSD together. And chances are, if I'm there, I'm not going to probably wait for EMS unless they're only a few minutes out, kind of thing. If it happens and I'm right there, I'd rather get you up to the hospital. That's just my call, my experience. Is that sometimes the ambulances take a while to get down. Okay, Aviciano too. If somebody has an AGE, I'm not going to do a neurological exam. If we have a neurological hit right off the bat, we're going to sit there and take time to go through and do this and stand on one foot and, you know, that kind of thing. We're going to get to the chamber and let the doctors take care of it. Okay. Obviously, get them on oxygen, and if they decide they feel better, get them on oxygen, we're still going to go to medical and get checked out. Maybe if the symptoms go away and I feel better, like I'm okay, we're going to get checked out anyway. Better safe than sorry. Okay, the two emphysemas, mediastinal and subcutaneous. I'll do both of these pretty quickly. Subcutaneous is the expansion of your lungs, forcing gas, and your mediastinal tissues. We've probably, everyone here I bet you has had mediastinal emphysema and you never even knew it. You can sneeze really hard, get a small little tear, maybe get a little bit of air in your chest. You might not even feel it. Sometimes you might feel like a little something up in here and it goes away after an hour or two. You know, it's more of a dull ache, it's a moderate pain. It's not real sharp. But again, bring it up if you have any issues there. Again, treatment for that, 100% O2. And we're going to go up, probably do a neuro first, and then we'll probably head up to the hospital. They'll do a chest x-ray, listen to everything in there. Okay? Subcutaneous, it happens right after getting mediastinal, bubbles rise. So what happens, if you do get a bunch of good little bubbles in there, they're going to rise up into your neck area. Okay? And your shoulders, you'll feel it in your shoulders. Your voice might sound like, you know, a little munchkin, your voice will get a little higher because the pressure in your vocal cords will go up. I've actually seen and heard this. If you go like that, you'll feel like little Rice Krispies, they call it. Like you'll feel like little pops in your skin area. It's really weird. I've experienced that as well. Some people have had that. So this is the bubbles rising up this area. And what happens, your body naturally will transfuse itself out into the atmosphere. You know, eventually it will go away. Oxygen helps expedite that. That's why we put everybody on oxygen. And we're still going to go up because the doctors are going to want to see where that tear is and how bad it really is. You know. And pneumothorax is a little bit different. This is where you actually have a puncture in your lung, and air is actually entering the space in your pleural cavity. Your lung will partially probably collapse. There's two different kinds of pneumothoraxes. You have one-time leakage, which is called tension. Actually, that's a you got two different kinds. When you have a tear in your lung, okay? It can either be a big hole, and your air's going out, and that's pretty much it. You have another scenario where it's actually like almost becomes like a one-way valve. So every time you inhale and exhale, air goes into your lung. Then you go to inhale, it closes back up. Then you exhale, it puts more air back in your chest cavity. Okay? And that's, so in other words, the air is building and building and building and building. And that's the real bad one. The other one, you just get a good puncture, you probably collapse your lung. It's a one-time leakage into your space. Okay, that would be so simple. Tension pneumothorax is the one that actually, that's life-threatening. That means basically they need to stick a dart in, vent the air off. Otherwise, you can collapse your other lung and collapse your heart. And these will usually be a sharp, sudden pain. I've never had a pneumothorax. I don't know if other people have had them in here. A lot of people get them when they play football. You know, sharp hits to the chest area, breaking their ribs. Anybody back there ever had a pneumothorax? And the way we treat that is we're going to call EMS, we're going to get them to the hospital, put them on O2. This is something that will not, there's no obviously neurological issues. They're not even going to treat you. Treatment doesn't do anything to you. You may get some relief help compress whatever's air's in there, but when you come back up, it's going to come right back out again. So the doctors, you'll get a big chest x-ray, and they'll know what's going on. They'll be able to see that. Plus, you'll be able to collapse lung, they're going to actually hear that. Okay? So how do we prevent this? The big thing is proper training, what we're doing, right? Refresher training. Don't hold your breath while diving. That last sentence right there, so it can happen between 3 and 4 feet. As little as. You get AGE from that. People say, oh, you can embolize, you can get pneumothorax or you get embolized in a bathtub. I don't know about that, but it is definitely possible at real shallow depths. So this is what worries me out there when we're diving. So always something to think about. Okay? So you can see if you're not paying attention and you're buoyant, you're down there working, and all of a sudden whatever you're doing, you have to hold your breath. Next thing you're on your surface, you're talking 10 feet. So all of us can experience this. Okay? Good enough. Questions on that? Stories. Sea stories. Anybody ever felt something like this and didn't say nothing to anybody? Okay. Keep rolling. Where we at? All right, the other thing, breath holds. Let's talk about this for a while. I'll try to explain what this is. I've seen a lot of you guys down there, pipeline stuff we're doing, the marking sessions. And we're doing it over and over and over again, kind of thing. We do this outside the pen. I'll get a little bit more deep into that, but it's really concerning, when we do this outside the pen. So, thanks for thinking about it. Okay, what is shallow water blackout? Can anybody here tell me what they think shallow water blackout is, what causes it? Besides you, Will. Anybody?
Excess of CO2.
Talk to me.
Excess of CO2.
Excess of CO2, okay. And how's that happening? What's happening?
Hold your breath.
Okay.
Hyperventilating.
What's hyperventilating do?
It removes the CO2 from your oxygen.
So it reduces your CO2. I can't hear you.
It increases.
So hyperventilating increases your CO2?
You're reducing it. Increasing your O2?
Okay, we're going to go over that. Anybody else? Will,
Yeah.
what's your answer?
What you're doing when you're hyperventilating, basically you're blowing off all that carbon dioxide that naturally triggers your body's desire to want to breathe. So you're actually lowering your carbon dioxide. And essentially what's going to happen then is you'll be doing what you want to do, and your body's going to use up its oxygen before you feel like, no, I need to take a breath. Which normally is not a problem, except if you're underwater, and your body's saying, okay, well, you decide now that I'm not going to need oxygen. You're not really treating me very well. I'm going to take over. So I'm going to start turning off things, like consciousness. And so that's kind of, what happens. And you might start getting like tingling sensation in your fingers and things like this. And this is your body's way of saying, okay, I need to keep my brain going and my heart going, so I'm going to turn off things that I don't need.
Very good. That's what's happening down there. We probably all held our breath to the point where we felt a little tingly in our head, like, oh, I really need to take a breath now. We have things in our body called chemoreceptors. And the chemoreceptors are the little things that sense this carbon dioxide levels in our body, right? And when they get really, really high, these little chemoreceptors say, hey, I need to breathe. I'm going to create this bodily function to inhale so I don't feel this, all the CO2 and whatever the effects it has. And so that's what causes us to breathe. It's not the lack of oxygen, like my body's starving for oxygen. Actually, your body's saying, I need to get rid of this carbon dioxide that's in my system. Okay? So shallow water blackout is just that. It's a loss of consciousness in the water. Simple as that. Shallow water blackout is loss of consciousness in the water. Usually, it's caused by hyperventilating, but not always. We don't have to hyperventilate. It means if you stop hyperventilating and you go down and hold your breath underwater, does that mean you're not going to experience shallow water blackout? Absolutely not. Okay? You still can. It usually happens with experienced divers. People who've done this and spent a lot of time in the water, we get overconfident. We feel very comfortable and relaxed in the water. So we may not even hyperventilate. We just take a breath and down we go. And we just feel good because we're relaxed. Okay? And when you come up, we'll talk about partial pressures of oxygen in your body, but when those levels fall below a certain amount, your body's, like Will said, is going to shut down, it's going to shut things off. And one of the first things that shuts off is your consciousness. Because it wants to conserve everything in the brain, so it just turns your lights out. Okay? So then you end up drowning and asphyxiating. Okay? Hyperventilating, what Will said, is do all that. And what Cody was saying is you're ridding your body of carbon dioxide, right? You're flushing everything out of there. But we seem to think, and it's a big misconception, that when we do that, we're actually building up our oxygen. So if CO2 is going way low, we need to fill that up with oxygen. Actually, you're not. When you hyperventilate, all you're doing is ridding the body of your carbon dioxide, but your body does not take in any more oxygen. It does not store any more oxygen in your system. It doesn't hyperoxygenate your blood at all whatsoever. All it does is get rid of the byproduct, but it does not increase your oxygen in your system. It's a big I thought that too for a while. And, over the years, I've learned, and doctors come out with things, and they actually have research on this. So that's something very interesting too. Okay? Obviously, it happens to pretty much all of us here. This is us. We're experienced divers. For the most part, I think 90% of us in here are experienced divers. We spent probably most of our lives in the water or around the water. So, unfortunately, we tend to get complacent. And we're more relaxed in the water, which means we're staying down longer. A new diver, a new person in the water, probably will never experience this because they get underwater, they can hold their breath for 10 seconds, they got to come up. Okay? But for those of us who stay down longer, it's more dangerous. Okay, of course it can happen anywhere. Okay, so, like Will said, hyperventilating decreases the CO2 levels in the blood, and that prolongs the body's urge to breathe during breath holding because your chemoreceptors are like, I got no O2 and I'm feeling good, so I don't need to breathe. Okay, so now we've suppressed our, urge to breathe. O2, our body's still consuming and metabolizing our oxygen, right? And kicking off the little CO2 molecules that are collecting. So what happens is when we go down in depth, for those who have been through some of my classes, and if you guys are familiar with partial pressures of gases and how that works in our body, as you go down in depth, you have the increase of pressure. We know pressure increases, right? So that pressure of all these gases that are all in our bodies, whether it be in solution or in gaseous state or whatever, is really getting pressed. Our body feels like it's got more oxygen at 30 feet than it does at the surface. Okay? Because the pressure is making it like, wow, I got a lot of O2 down here. I have a lot of other stuff too. Everything else goes up, but your body's consuming. So now you've depleted your CO2 where your body doesn't want to breathe, and you're feeling good. Your body's still eating up the oxygen because I'm at a higher partial pressure. So now by the time I feel like I need to breathe, okay, time to come to the surface, right? As I come up in the water column and I get up there, that partial pressure is now gone, which means my O2 levels just drop like a rock even further below that consciousness threshold. Before I get there, I don't even feel it. It comes on and it's lights out. You don't even feel it. You don't get numb. You don't feel like, oh my God, I gotta breathe, I gotta breathe, I gotta breathe. Because your body still says, I don't need to breathe yet. See what I mean? But your O2 levels are so gone that you black out before you reach the surface. And God forbid you're not buoyant and you sink. Because then what? And that's a big, big concern. When we talk about, we're doing breath holds with weights. Better not be negative. Because the people on the surface ain't gonna know where you're at, right? Unless you guys have a float. There's no bubbles. And you just never surface. And if you're negative, now you're at the bottom and nobody knows where you're at. Okay, so that's a big thought that we all need to think about out there. Okay, so you guys can sort of read this. And this graph will prove to you and show you how it works. So, I don't have a pointer or anything like that. So this is normal dive. Okay? Surface. Okay, normal breathing. Right here, I don't know if you guys can read this. The blue line is where your chemoreceptors are saying, hey, I feel the urge to breathe. Okay, I've been holding my breath long enough. This red line is your oxygen level that keeps you conscious. Okay? So we're breathing normally. I don't feel the urge to breathe because I'm just sitting there breathing normal on the surface. My oxygen levels are remaining the same, in and out, right? Now we dive. Okay? Holding our breath. Okay, your O2 goes down, your CO2 goes up. See the trigger? Okay. Actually, this isn't even holding our breath. Actually, this is actually, I think this is diving off scuba, what this is dictating. So it reaches where we need to breathe. You inhale, oxygen goes up, carbon dioxide goes down, we keep on going. So that's like in a scuba mode. You go to this mode here, shallow water blackout, what happens? Okay. They're even showing you what happens when you hyperventilate. When you hyperventilate, your O2 doesn't go up, it's still staying the same, but your CO2 does drop in your body. You guys see that over there? All right. Now we're doing our dive. Well, we're feeling groovy. We get down to depth, we're holding our breath, our body's metabolizing the oxygen, our CO2 is going up, but because I'm at a deep depth, I'm feeling pretty darn good. So now, I'm starting to come up. But what happens is before you feel that urge to breathe, that O2 level is dropped below that blackout zone. So it reaches it before you feel the need to breathe, or as you're surfacing and coming up in the water column, this thing here is actually dropping even faster. This curve will go down like so. They're almost going to look like this. You come up and reduce that partial pressure. So there's a logic to this happening. Okay? That makes sense? So I would say if you're going to do breath hold dives, do not hyperventilate. If you do, no more than 2 or 3 breaths, then you go. Don't just sit there until you get all numb and tingly inside. Okay? It's probably hard to read this from the back because the font's so small. I apologize again. But what it's basically saying, hyperventilate, overbreathing, either consciously or as a result of overexertion, artificially lowers our levels. We talked about that. We dive, O2 drops. Breath hold begins, oxygen is metabolized, carbon dioxide levels increase. As the breath hold continues, the body becomes starved of oxygen. Consciousness, under normal circumstances, increased dioxide would trigger you to breathe, but because CO2 levels were so low on submersion, there's not enough to trigger this need to come up for a breath. Then you keep on swimming. Once the swimmer loses consciousness, the body obviously reacts and forces a breath. That causes the lungs to fill up with water. And without immediate rescue, drowning, death, cardiac arrest is all but certain. We also become heavier. Now, if your body does take water in your lungs, you also reduce that buoyancy in your lungs as well. So you become heavier. Okay. Treatment, remove victim from water, roll over, found face down on the surface. CPR, rescue breaths if needed. O2, if you can get any in there. Transport to medical immediately. If the person comes up and you resuscitate them, they still need to go see the doctor, okay? Because now you have your drown. You get a little bit of water in your lungs. It doesn't take much. What? Not even a teaspoon to kill somebody to drown. You guys want to YouTube blackouts? I mean, there's actually videos out there. Spec war. I mean, the Navy doesn't allow breath hold diving, but we know a lot of special warfare training, stuff like that. They do a lot of drown proofing in the pools. And there's actually some videos out there. You see guys black out in the water, you know, and they'll yank them out really quick and start getting them going. But there are some videos out there of people blacking out in the water. You want to check it out. Okay, how do we prevent this? Do not hyperventilate. When you feel the urge to breathe, come up. Don't try to press it. Leave something in the tank. You should maintain a watch for 30 seconds after surfacing. So when your diver comes up, if you're doing these ops out there, keep an eye on them for at least 30 seconds because what can happen, there can be this latent blackout. Okay, so you can come to the surface and they might get a breath, you know, and they can still black out. They can be so tingly and their O2 can be so low, even one breath will not refill that gas tank, and they can still pass out. So now you have somebody on the surface, hopefully they're not going to sink. If they're face down, you might get somebody in there in the water to get them over. Okay? Must be weighted correctly. Positively, that's the rule of thumb. This is the industry standard out there they're putting out there. This is through Dan, the Divers Alert Network site, and a bunch of other sites out there. Positively buoyant from 33 feet of seawater with your lungs empty. So, I mean, I have a hard time even diving at 33 feet. You know, got to come up, kind of thing. But that's what they're saying. So I know we're out there with these wetsuits on. You guys are trying to breath hold down to the bottom of the pen and grab onto something really quick, whatever, so we can watch. And we sort of cheat, put weight belts on. Thing is, man, don't weight yourself enough to where you're down to average 1 atmosphere, 33 feet. Okay, that's a lot of weight to keep you down that deep. So you need to be positive. So really, the weight you're wearing, is questionable. You need to be positively buoyant from 33 feet of sea level. Okay, if you are, at least when you pass out, you're going to come to the surface. That's what we want. If you have to release your weight belt, don't be afraid to release it. Some even industries out there say even consider taking the weight belt off while you're down there and holding on to it, and then swimming up. If you come up with it, you black out, guess what's going to happen? At least you're guaranteed to come to the surface if you black out. That makes sense? So, I never really thought about that, but I've been reading a lot about that. So, okay, it's another step. You get to the surface, you got to put the darn thing back on for the next one, but I think the big thing is here is make sure you're positive. When you're on the bottom, if you let go, you're going to scream to the surface. Okay? I can imagine the program is probably, in lieu of recent events, is probably going to have some more guidance on that with our program in terms of breath hold, free swimming, that kind of stuff. We know it's coming down the pike. So, it can happen to us because we do it out there too. When you're drowning, this will be suffocation by immersion in liquid, but you get resuscitated. So you black out, you come up, good to go. Near drowning is where you have the fluid in the lungs, pneumonia will probably set in, which is really bad. So anybody who's unconscious underwater, they need to seek medical attention, okay? It can happen just by being in rough water, panicky, too heavy, being tired. Okay, so I'm sure you guys have heard of your drownings before, or you've heard this issue, so to speak. Okay, treatment of, removed from water, CPR, 100% O2, this look familiar? Transport to medical, which is pretty much what we do. Questions on that? Okay, we got half hour out. Okay, we're going to pick up, we'll probably get done a little bit early, so this will be good. We're ahead of schedule, actually. Diving accident prevention. How do we prevent these things from happening? Proactive procedures. Okay. Physical fitness, this is how we can all be proactive, right? We always talk about physical fitness. It's really important because the more out of shape you are, the more susceptible you are really to decompression sickness, overexertion, overheating, yeah. So we always talk about fitness, proper training with diving. I think we do a lot of good training here. I know you guys have a lot of experience in this room, a lot of stories that are shared. Okay. Proper equipment. Hopefully I have the right equipment for you guys. I'm starting to take some BCs out of the system. I'll start getting some new BCs in, probably different models. We try a couple different new things. And those BCs are getting pretty beat up out there. Equipment is actually being serviced as we speak. We're in the maintenance cycle. This is the annual service, so that's going to be happening all this month and next month. And it's also nice, you guys, it's great because you guys also give me a lot of good feedback. I know, Gavin, you've come up many times and say, hey, we got this going on, or this isn't breathing right, or something's broke on this. Keep doing it. That could be anybody. Say, this is sort of jacked up, or this is breathing weird, or whatever. And take out of service really quick. I got spares of everything as well. So I need you guys for that because I'm not down there every day using this stuff. But also, that being said, is we need to make sure we don't drop the stuff, bang the stuff. We clean the stuff really well, right? Especially when we're dredging and cleaning all the dirt and sand and grit. Emptying the BCs of salt water. Okay, I put a bunch of BCs out the other day, and I emptied them out, and they were almost completely full of salt water. So again, post-dive procedures, I need you guys, I don't go down there and do that. okay? So I need you guys to really spend the time at the end of the day when you're trying to get out of here is, rinse that gear off really good, especially if you were doing a dirty dive. Dirty dives are just clean stuff, that's one thing. When you get down there moving dirt and silt and crap around, make sure you guys really good post dive. Because the next person that dives that may not be the people on your crew, it might be somebody else's crew. You know what I mean? It feel pretty bad if you found out the previous day something was, all jacked up. Just sort of remember that. Who's going to use it the next day? Try to leave it cleaner, and then you got it. It's a good rule of thumb. Okay, pre-dive safety checks are important as to set up the gear in the morning and while you set up the gear on the dive side and before you put the divers in the water. And then when you re-pet the divers, you're always checking, always checking the gear. Dive within your training experience level. Follow proper diving procedures. Most important checks of the day are the safety pre-dives. Okay, so the dive supervisor going through the rig. I always say, hey, it's that adage, who packed my chute? I'm gonna jump out of an airplane. Am I gonna trust some other guy who packed my chute? So when you're setting up your gear, make sure, and I'm sure you guys do this, but you're checking your PCs out, you're checking your regulators. Even though it might already be set up for you on the stage, on the side when you go down there, you're going through and you're checking it. Okay. The first one, check your cylinders full. Can't tell you how many times we've checked it and we're ready to get in the water and it's got 1,000 pounds in it. So again, pre-dives, when you guys pull the tanks out of the dive locker, make sure you're supposed to gauge all the tanks before you shove them in the cart, right? Put them in the boat. But sometimes we just assume because that little cap is on that it's got air in it and we shove it in. So it could have leaked overnight, so maybe bumped the valve, had a leak around the O-ring. So don't assume because that cap is on there, you can take that, take it out. Make sure you check it. Because the last thing you want to do is get on that lock and all of a sudden you have your bottle short or something like that. Okay?
Quick question.
Yes.
They're cap at 2,000, but can use 1,500 to start a dive?
I would start a dive of the day, no.
But like
If you're in the middle of the day
yeah.
and your divers are breathing your tanks down, I'd probably, depends what the job is, 15 feet, yes. It's the first dive of the day, and you start at 1,500 pounds, what's the job?
Well, our job.
Exactly. So can you? You shouldn't, but you can.
Because we got a rule, it could start a dive with less than
I would say this. If you have 1,500 pounds and you're checking gauge bubble pressures in the dive lockers, don't take that bottle. That's pretty much common sense. I'm sure we wouldn't grab that bottle, right?
Right.
If you end up being down the side, that one's got 1,500 in it, I would put that bottle aside and label it and use your other ones, right? Just use the other ones. And if you find at the end of the day you're depleting, then you may have that as a reserve for a quick little 5-minute job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But don't just throw that in the mix. I'd probably just put it aside and label it would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Give it to somebody else who's coming back here. Hey, just take this bag and bring me a fresh one back. Okay, but anything else on that? Hang with me, we're almost done. Weight pouches, make sure your weight pouches aren't blocked by equipment, gear, so you can readily adjust them if you have to. If you have a weight belt on, okay, it's a little bit tougher if you have a weight belt. I like diving weight belts, but then you have that cummerbund for your BC, so it's really in a buckle. So it's really sort of odd sometimes, if you're diving that kind of boat, but you always need to be able to get to that weight belt so you can pop that last and drop it if you need to. And it can't be captured in anything. Okay. All we have is weight pouches here, but you guys can dive with weight belts. There's no rule that says you can't. I happen to like diving weight belts personally. So. Okay? That's important. Be familiar with your buddy's equipment. That's why we sort of dive the same stuff. So I know my rig, but I also know that person's rig because they're diving the same thing. But sometimes we're out there doing recreational dives. You guys go out there and you go on your personal lives doing whatever you're doing or something like that. Or you're diving with organizations that you can use different equipment. Make sure whoever you're diving with, they know your gear and you know their gear because it can be totally different. I've seen that. I've had to look at somebody's like, what is that? You know, so I sort of go over their setup, especially when it comes to police and weights and then extra regulators. That's important. You guys got all that? Okay, factors that contribute to accidents: stress, anxiety, fatigue, fear, panic. These are all stressors. Equipment problems, buddy separation, diving beyond our training and abilities, dive safety checks. So I've been diving now for a lot of years, and I still to this day, these things creep up on me. I'm sure you guys back here can probably show the same experiences, and probably some of you guys out here have been diving a long time. Even those who've been doing this a long time, where you're like, oh, I'm not scared of anything. And sometimes you get in a situation like this, you're pretty prepared. You know, you start thinking to yourself, and at least you might be experienced enough to recognize, hey, this is I got a little stressor going on down here. You can be able to recognize, depending on where you're diving, this could go south really fast. Okay? Because what happens when you have some of these stressors, the anxiety picks up. You know? So I can share some stories later, but I just had one recently. Myself, been doing this for a long time, and I actually was in a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, this is a little squirrely. And so I just aborted. We had to get the job done, but I had to abort. We had to regroup. You know, we kept pressing. So it's not worth it. Feel something that's feels right, it probably isn't. That's when you come up and say, let's stop for a second. Let me get a breather, let's talk about something real quick. Or if you don't feel like saying anything, just come up and say, you know, I just need to take a break for a second. You go back, I have a bathroom. You know, I gotta go back down. Whatever it is, okay? Very big. If you ever have any stories, let me know too. I like to hear stories like this. I love to hear things that were going through your heads in certain scenarios, because it only helps me. It's fun to talk about, actually, you know. So anytime. I know these guys back here too thrive for stories. You know, it's good to share with others. It becomes that butterfly effect for training. Universal signal for distress, right? Like this, or like this. You don't want to see this on the surface. I've had a few of those. But obviously that's the high sign. Waving's bad. Okay, yeah. This last one, I'm notorious as well. Put my mask on my head instead of pulling around my neck. It is pretty much a universal signal that something's wrong, but that one there I don't take too serious. Big thing is just unresponsiveness, making groaning noises, waving their arms. At nighttime, I'm not going to get into night diving. Let's see through that. So we as scuba divers, with lack of communication with our topside divers, and you're on the bottom, you need to be able to self-rescue. You guys heard that term before, self-rescue? So again, when you're down there, these are all the things we've talked about that you should be aware of, because if something happens, you have a buddy, your buddy's your friend, but you need to be able to self-rescue yourself or one another. It's imperative. Yeah, if you can get a hold of topside, that's one thing, but the big thing here is don't panic, don't hold your breath at the surface. Get stuck on the nets. You're down there on the bottom and you get wrapped up in the net. You know, and your buddy's not with you. Again, do not panic. Check your air, right? Always check your air first. Where am I? How much time do I have here to figure this out? Okay, then you take appropriate action from there. Okay? So the big thing is do not panic. Figure out what you mean. You guys all know your EPs. So it's important to go over them in your head. Don't get complacent. Dive soups, ask your divers. Before you put them in, ask them every now and then. Shotgun them. What do you do for this? What do you do for that? Okay? And make sure the answer is correct. And it helps everybody else. You know, it sounds a little challenging, but it actually works when we do that a little bit more often than not. We talked about our EPs. Where's your buddy? Alternate air sources. You see that? Blocking you guys. 5-6, you may have to get this sometimes if you notice your drivers are panicking, something's going on. Sometimes you have to remind one another what to do. Probably not so much when we're diving in pens, but if you're ever out at sea, this can happen a lot more readily. That's all I got. Any questions? Is that good? All right, thank you.